Hello guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about why JD stock is down 41% year to date. This is the worst performance of any major Chinese e-commerce stock, and it's raising a lot of questions about the future of the company. Is JD still a good investment or is it time to sell? Next, I will be discussing the reasons for JD stock to decline and whether is it still a good investment. I will also look at the future of the company and what investors need to know. So, first, we will compare the performance of JD with other Chinese companies. This year, JD is down almost 41%, while Tencent is flat year to date. Alibaba is up 3%, around 3%, which is not bad. And for example, Baidu and Pinduoduo are up more than 22%. In the beginning of the year, Chinese companies, there were a lot of expectations around the Chinese economy, and people were expecting a lot. So the Chinese companies were up a lot in the beginning of the year, but after that, there were a lot of slowdown in the Chinese economy. Chinese economy is growing at its slowest pace in decades, and this is having a negative impact on all sectors of the economy, including e-commerce. So after that, the Chinese companies were underperforming the stock market, and now we have seen a recovery, for example, in Pinduoduo and even on Alibaba and other companies. But JD remained down a lot. Other reason for the JD stock to be down a lot is there are a lot of regulatory crackdown on Chinese tech companies. Chinese government has been cracking down on large tech companies in the last few months, and this is having an impact on Chinese companies. So other thing is the trading war that are between not only with the US and China, but between Chinese e-commerce companies such Alibaba and Pinduoduo that are putting a trade war, increasing competition, and JD is having difficulties on that. You have to know that these companies are engaging in aggressive price wars, putting pressure on JD margins, and this is likely to continue in the near future. So JD is still profitable, but their margins have declined in the recent quarters. There are some of the reasons why Chinese companies in general are down, but JD is down a lot because they are losing this war, in my opinion. And JD were once a fast growing company, and now their growth slowed down a little bit. And when you see Alibaba expecting to grow 10% this year, JD is only expecting to grow around 4%, which is really bad, and investors are not liking that. So, but JD has a lot of strengths as well. In my opinion, they have one of the strongest logistics network. It's one of their key attributes, and they have that's one of their potentials key things that they can take profits on. That they have one of the best logistics networks on China. Another things that JD has, they have a loyal customer base. They sell premium brands that Alibaba and Pinduoduo don't, and with the growing of the Chinese economy and the Chinese citizen getting richer now and in the future, they will want to buy premium brands, things they like, and JD is the company who sells that. For example, I remember in the last report they started to sell Longines watch. For example, I'm a huge fan of watches, and they are now selling one of the best brands out there. So it's one example. There are plenty of others. And another thing is JD is investing a lot in new technologies. For example, they have a really good future plan. They are investing heavily in new business, such as in their logistic network and in cloud computing as well, trying to compete with Tencent and Alibaba. And that might be the future. They might have a really good return on that investment, I hope. So um these investments could pay off in the long run, but they are weighing on the company's profitability in the near term. So that's the resume. What is happening? So JD is lagging when you compare to the US stocks this year, and when you compare to other Chinese companies, they are lagging as well. Uh, Chinese economy it's not the best. I do believe they are in the turning point. There are we are starting to see really good signs, and I hope in the future JD benefit from that as well as the other companies like Alibaba, Pinduoduo, and Tencent, for example. So, is JD still a good investment? Um, I will give you my honest opinion. I do own JD, so full disclosure. Uh, this is a company I used to like more. It was one of my favorite companies. I do know they have a lot of strength, but they are facing some problems. Their margins are low when compared to other competitors like Alibaba and Pinduoduo, for example. But I do believe they sell other types of products. They sell premium brands. That's why they have low margin, because they sell other products from other brands that are not them, or they are not cheap products. Um, they were growing a lot, but now the growth is slowing down, which is really bad. I don't like their margins. It's a low margin business, and when other companies put pressure on the prices and do some trade wars, that's what is happening at the moment. That's really difficult for companies like JD that has really low margin, but they have a really good balance sheet. They have a lot of cash in hand to do their investments, or potential to do some buybacks and pay some dividends. They started to pay a dividend some months ago, and it's I'm hoping they will increase it every year. At the moment, it's at a yield of 1.8%, which is not bad. But the return on invested capital and on equity is not good at all. It's around 10% and 4% for the return on invested capital. I'm hoping to see these returns increase in the future after the we can see the results of these investments. I don't believe they have a wide moat when compared to Alibaba or Pinduoduo, for example. I do believe they have a wider moat, but they have a different kind of moat. JD, it's not one of the best, but still a really good company, a big company. But in terms of free cash flow and returning capital to the shareholders, they are doing that. They have been free cash flow positive for the last 5 years. They have been returning capital. They were doing buybacks, and now they are doing a dividend. So they are starting a new phase. Maybe they are maturing as a company. So, in my opinion, as a company, I do not believe JD is as strong as Pinduoduo or Alibaba, or I do believe they have Alibaba and Pinduoduo have a higher growth in the near future, and JD will continue to grow. But for example, this year they are expecting to grow 4.5%, and the next year 9%. I do believe they can, with the Chinese economy growing in the near future, as the economy recovers, they will benefit from that. So I expect them to grow around 8 to 10% for the next years, which is really good when you look into it. And when I do my evaluation, my discounted cash flow, I do believe JD is undervalued. My fair value is around $40 now. It was higher in the last few months, but now it's not one of my favorite companies on China. But I still believe it's one of the most undervalued companies in the market, like Alibaba, for example, or even Tencent. I do believe it's gonna be a good investment, as like the other Chinese companies. They are really undervalued. I'm expecting them to recover. It's the only Chinese company that didn't recover anything this year, so I'm expecting maybe a bigger pullback when the economy recovers. So I'm bullish on that. In general, I'm really bullish on the company as well. Uh, I do believe they have a lot of growth in the next few years as well. So I believe that JD is the sleeping giant of Chinese e-commerce. So it's only a matter of time before they make a comeback. Uh, so I'm still bullish, but since JD is already a full position on mine, I'm not inclined to increase my position. Uh, which is what I normally do when I see a company down 40% in a year. I've already increased my position 4 months ago, but in the last few months, I prefer to increase other positions. For example, I increased my position in Pinduoduo, and it's a bigger position now. It's one of my biggest holdings, and it turns to be really good in the last few months. But I'm still I would like to still buy more JD, but at the moment it's around 3-4% of my portfolio, and it's one of the few positions I'm down. So I might increase, I might not. I don't know what I will do in the future, but for now it's still a hold. I still think it's a really good investment. I do really believe I will have a really good return in the next few years for this company, and I'm still bullish. It's one of my favorite companies. I do prefer Alibaba and Pinduoduo as a company, but valuation, it's when we talk about valuation, it's a really key important thing when you look into investment. And it is still a really good company above the median. It's not a really strong high quality company in my opinion, but it's still a really good company. They are doing what investors like, that is returning capital. They are doing dividends now, and for now I'm still a holder, and I hope I can hold this company for the next few years. So that's my opinion, guys. It's the resume of what's happening in JD in the last year. So I hope you liked, and if you find it useful, please like and subscribe, guys. Bye.